Think it's old-fashioned to buy your books in a bookstore? Guess again. The Brookline Booksmith has not only been around for 55 years, but is flourishing.
She went from a one-woman business to managing $700 million. How did she do that? How does a small business remain relevant in an industry like plastic injection moldings? And what is that? Actually getting the keys to your own candy store. But first, a reversal of You've Got Mail. The little bookstore around the corner fights a challenge from a big box bookstore and wins. All coming up as we look at successful small businesses on this episode of The Language of Business with Greg Stoller.
We're on location a stone's throw from Boston. Dana Brigham, part owner and general manager of the Brookline Booksmith. Welcome to Language of Business.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So what do you think about the online book craze?
Well, I think that it had its sort of flash in the pan, and it is still there, but really solid independents like this store have risen above the sort of thrill of online and ebooks to remind people that we're real people in a real place, which I think is really important nowadays. The more people are on the screens, the more they really crave real people in real places. So that's worked super well for us.
But your pricing can't be as good as it is online.
No, and we don't even go there. You know, we have rent and utilities to pay, and so we do the best we can on pricing, and we really count on having excellent service, selection, style, every customer having a better than expected experience, and that has seen us along.
Businesses, industries change in 5 years, let alone 55. Why the Booksmith, and why is it doing so well?
This is a great community, deep roots. The founder was a resident here, his children went to school here. And it's always been about lifelong learning and about deep roots in the community. So we're very involved with nonprofits, schools, religious institutions, and we really want every customer to have that better than expected experience. So we increase our offerings over the years. The used books where we're sitting is 7 years. The gift room upstairs is 17 years. We just keep expanding what we're doing. Author events, online sales, we do as well. So the more you offer, the more you can be appealing and viable.
When people come in, how do they know where to go?
Well, we have aisle signs upstairs on chalkboard that guide you through the aisles. We have people right at the front desk to help you. The store is laid out sort of like a treasure hunt. We really like customers to find their own way. We have a lot of tables that are sort of our curated titles, and you see people browsing those a lot. If they want a particular type of book, then they go to that section. They might find the book they're looking for, as well as two others. Something we hear all the time is, I came in for one book or one card, and I'm leaving with multiple, all kinds of items. So that means success for us.
Do book signings still work?
Totally. They do. Everything from Neil Patrick Harris, who had 800 people in line, to a fledgling poet or novelist.
Would you ever want to expand?
We do keep expanding in that we get taller bookcases. We micromanage every morsel of space. So we have expanded what's in these four walls. And this space in which we're sitting was not retail for a long time. So yes, we expand as much as we can. And if the landlord ever puts on a second floor, well.
Do the publishers give you any sympathy since you're an independent bookstore?
Publishers are very supportive. We are partners in every way. They count on us to launch new books for them. It's one thing to have an algorithmic relationship with a customer. It's another to have a person who's actually read the book, passionate about it, say to you, you will love this book.
Years ago, you went head-to-head against Barnes & Noble up the street, and you won.
We did.
How did that work so well?
Barnes & Noble was down the street, one block, for about 10 years, and their arrival came at the same time as Amazon began to roll out and other big box stores around the region. And it was challenging, no doubt about it, but we hung in there. We kept growing in the ways that I've already mentioned to you, and we made it through. Customer loyalty was very important. Brookline is a town which understands local, important, independent, important contributor to your community, so that helped us a lot.
Does anything keep you up at night about the next 5 years?
I think what keeps me up at night is trying to stay ahead of everything that's part of today's world, whether online, in person. What do customers want? What do they not want? There's so many different levels of what some people find offensive, others don't. People love something, people hate something, and you have to try to navigate those waters. It's challenging.
Do you have any online presence for the Brookline Booksmith?
We do, 24/7 at brooklinebooksmith.com. You can order any book in print We'll get it to you in a couple of days. Happy to do that.
How does the staff figure into your formula for success?
It's essential. We have about 35 people to keep this popcorn popper going on a daily basis, and everyone is passionate about books, all different types. They're intelligent, they're connected people, lots of variety, lots of idiosyncratic people. The store is known as much for its personality as anything else, and so the people make that personality.
Dana, thank you.
Thank you.
Dana Brigham, part owner and general manager of the Brookline Booksmith here in Brookline, Massachusetts.
Coming up, how does a small business remain relevant in an industry like plastic injection moldings? And what exactly is that? Actually getting the keys to your own candy store. But first, she went from a one-woman business to managing $700 million. How did she do that? We'll find out when The Language of Business continues. You're watching The Language of Business with Greg Stoller.
How do you go from a one-woman shop 25 years ago to managing $700 million? Welcome to Deborah Brady, the founder and president of DK Brady Investment Management on The Language of Business.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. I started out in 1980, and I started out as a sales assistant, became an ops manager within the next 6 months. And then I did the broker training in 1984 at Shearson. So I used to cold call. That's how I actually started doing my business. Cold calling, and I built it on municipal bond buyers, and I cross-sold them stocks. And then I started to give seminars, and after that, it was all coming in from a referral business. So since then, it's just been really just referrals coming in and building my client base from there.
The latest craze these days in investment management is robo-brokers. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's not going to really affect me, because the kind of clients that I have, they're looking for true wealth management. They don't just want what's the latest ETF or that type of thing. They're looking to see, where should their money be? How should they take it out most tax efficiently when they do retire on the IRA distribution side? They want to know about making sure that they can move their wealth from one generation to the next. What's the best way, estate tax-wise, and all of that. So. I think it's going to be good for the smaller investor.
How do you respond to a client who wants to deal with one of the huge behemoth institutions who might have 45 experts?
Okay. Well, first off, I have access to all those experts plus others. So basically today's marketplace, very different than how it was back in the 80s when I started in the business, where now you have access to analysts' opinions from many different firms, as a matter of fact. And when you go to a behemoth firm, like whether it be a Merrill Lynch or whatever firm you want to talk about in that regard, you're really going to get one advisor. Generally, it's going to be the one that's the lead person that's going to figure out what's going to happen with your account. So it's really, once again, getting that right person to work with you.
How do you build from a team of you yourself to 7 other people?
Really, it's think about it like a doctor. So I'm a doctor that sits there, and I want to look at all the records. I want to have everything in front of me. So it's like having a bunch of nurse practitioners or other doctors work with you that bring in all the information you need to then make the right decision. What it does is it frees me up to spend the time on just doing the analysis side and really zeroing in on what I need to zero in on.
Would you prefer a smaller number of clients with more assets under their names, or a larger number of clients with smaller accounts?
I need to have at least $1 million under management for me to make it worthwhile for me based on what I do for a client. And on top of that, I happen to like different people. I love the people side of it. So I wouldn't want to just have one client only, for instance, or just 2 clients. I like the differences of the clients. I've got some famous writers. I've got some very well-known doctors out there. I've got people interior decorators, people I just love to talk with. So that brings variety into it for me. So,
how much are you able to customize the advice to the individual as opposed to giving everybody your A+ recommendations?
I customize everything I do. So when you come to me, it's a tailored suit is what happens. So we'll have people that we need to work around the fact that they've inherited assets from years ago, and maybe it's in a trust account where if we sell something off, there's going to be a large capital gain. We have people that might just be in love with one particular stock, like maybe Gilead or whatever it might be. Maybe they work for the company, so we work around that. So it's about building the portfolio, and it's really good to have someone that does customize it like me, because it's more tax efficient that way.
Do your nurse practitioners deal with client-facing issues or research?
Both. They both. We have it on all different sides. So my staff they do many different jobs, but some are just service related, where they're just taking care of the client need, where it might be transferring money, maybe they're making a charitable gift or doing something like that, or paying the 529 bill, the college bill or something like that. But I have staff members that pull research together for me or get research on companies for me. So
In the next 5 years, are you looking to double to 1.4 billion under management?
Well, I'm very careful at who I take on and how much assets I have under management, because I want to make sure I have time for all the clients that I have. So kind of like a doctor, where they can do a certain panel number of patients and know they could still take care of those patients. I want to make sure I could take care of all my clients that come to me. So just like the clients interviewing me, I'm also interviewing them, because I want to make sure I take on somebody that I can really help and make a difference for in their life.
You're number one with Commonwealth Financial Services. What do you get most from that relationship?
I just love Commonwealth. I have to say, I am so glad I went independent with them years ago. They're one of the top out there. They win the awards, and they win many awards. And they've always been there as a backup. Anything I need, whether I need even something where it's some odd duck trust that I'm reading, like what is this about? They'll have attorneys that they can direct me to. I've got clients that are international clients that we need people at specific tax questions on that they've got resources to take me to. So they've been everything I've ever needed.
Deborah, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Deborah Brady, the founder and CEO of DK Brady Investment Management Company.
On this episode of The Language of Business, we're looking at successful small businesses. We've seen a local bookstore and a small investment company that now manages $700 million. Coming up, actually getting the keys to your own candy store. But first, how does a small business remain relevant in an industry like plastic injection moldings? And what exactly is that? We'll find out as The Language of Business continues.
How does a small business remain relevant in a niche industry such as injection moldings? Stephen Lunder will know. He is the president of Granite State Plastics. And Stephen, welcome to The Language of Business.
Thank you very much.
So for the benefit of our viewers, what is an injection molding?
An injection molding is a component that's used in any number of devices, from cars to firearms to footwear to any other thing, household device you may have, an appliance as an example.
What does Granite State do that's different than your competition?
We focus on short runs and fast turnaround for our customers, and we also focus on tight tolerance components, stuff that is not a commodity-based product.
And when you say a short run, how big is a short run?
For this industry, it's as low as 500 units per customer's order. It could be up to 10,000 pieces as well.
And do you build for a certain customer, or do you build for inventory trying to sell it?
We build a custom product for each and every customer that we have.
You've owned the business for 13 years. How have things changed for you over that time period?
Pretty dramatically, actually. When we first got into the business, there was a large movement away from U.S. manufacturing, and now it's coming back to the U.S. And buyers have a different set of criteria that they're looking for to accomplish not just price, but also speed and quality.
So are you competing on price, customer relationship, quality, some other metric?
All of the above. When I look at the value equation for customers, we look at quality, we look at service, and then we look at price. If a customer is looking for price first, they're probably not the right customer for us.
And how do you find your customers?
It's really about relationships. It starts with engineering. When an engineer has a success with a particular engineer at our company, they're going to come back to that engineer. Similarly, we also have salespeople that are out as well that have a certain technical expertise, and those folks have relationships as well.
Is this in New Hampshire or in the adjoining states as well?
We actually sell half of the product outside of the state of New Hampshire, and some of it actually goes all the way to China.
Why did you choose to initially locate in New Hampshire?
The business was actually in New Hampshire originally, and we felt it was best to retain the right people in the organization, but also the customers to stay in New Hampshire.
Do you think the labor rates would differ dramatically if you were in Massachusetts or in Maine or other locations in New England?
Definitely. New Hampshire is actually one of the most competitive states in New England and actually in the country. Labor is more cost effective, but also energy can be more efficient than it is in Massachusetts, which is a big issue for our business. And healthcare is also relatively inexpensive.
What do you see over the next 13 years?
It's tough to say, but I think that the prevalence of 3D printing will have an impact as resins can do more of what the injection molding resins can do, but that's still a long ways away at this point. That may be by year 13.
Are you getting more competition from the United States or from China at this point?
It's mostly within our trading area of maybe 200 miles.
And of those 200 miles, is there one big competitor or a bunch of smaller ones?
There's a whole bunch of them. This industry was started with people that started in their garage with a single machine and grew from there.
How does your turnaround time differ from that of the competition?
So 6 years ago, we actually changed the business model for Granite State Plastics, and rather than be like China, where it may take up to 6 months to get product, and even in the United States with our competitors in Massachusetts and Connecticut that may offer 4 to 6 weeks, we actually offer 1 to 3 week turnaround time.
What about the quality of your workforce in New Hampshire?
So the New Hampshire workforce is great. The people of New Hampshire are fantastic. They have a terrific work ethic, and they really make it much easier for our customers to be able to get quality product on a timely basis.
What types of engineers do you have on your team?
We have actually several different types of engineers. All of them are focused on injection molding and have a background in injection molding, but they could be doing anything from trying to figure out a process of a product, but also dealing with mechanical issues as well.
Stephen, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Stephen Lunder, the president of Granite State Plastics in Londonderry, New Hampshire.
Coming up, a dream come true. Actually getting the keys to your own candy store when the Language of Business continues. You're watching The Language of Business with Greg Stoller.
The sweet taste of success, 25 years and counting. We're on location here in Newton Highlands, Massachusetts at Indulge Candies with Linda Goldman, owner. Welcome to The Language of Business. How does somebody get into the candy business?
Well, growing up, I always worked retail, which I loved. I love interacting with people. I was an art major in college, so I did a bunch of different things before that, like jewelry, and I always worked retail, but I wanted to do something creative, and this is definitely creative.
Biggest lesson after 25 years?
That I'm always learning. I make mistakes all the time. Sometimes I buy things and I think they're going to be a hit and they're a miss, and sometimes I buy things that I don't think will work and they're great. So I'm just always learning from myself.
How has your MBA degree helped you run a business?
I do not have an MBA degree. I was an art major in college, and I think being in business is my best business experience. Like I said, I'm always learning from myself.
Why come to a comparatively small store in Newton Highlands as opposed to buying everything online?
You're going to get the personalized service here. Everyone, me and everybody that works for me, we give you the fullest extent of service here. We make everything look beautiful. People don't mind waiting for us to beautifully bow their gift because they know the presentation is everything. It has to taste good, but it also has to look good.
Is it just candies, or do you make packages?
We make a lot of gift packages. We have fine chocolate. We have a whole big wall of candy bins. We have a lot of people come in for hostess gifts all the time. So we have beautiful gift baskets with candy and nuts and gourmet food. And we make all our bows by hand, so everything is custom made. And people will come in for a little dish with candy and bring it for a hostess gift.
How do you innovate after 25 years?
I'm always looking online. I get ideas from what other people do, and I change it and make it my own. People get ideas from what we do and make it their own, which is the highest form of compliment. I'm just always looking for new and interesting containers, dishes, baskets, boxes, and always keeping it fresh and new.
Why not license the name and open up 5 Indulges?
I really think for me, personally speaking, I think you lose something when you franchise or open up more than one store. I cannot personally be in 2 places at one time. I have wonderful help. I've always had great help here, 25 years, and people stay for a long time because we work really well together. But I have wonderful people that work for me that can do everything I do, but I think that my customers really want to see me here, and I am here every day.
How have your margins changed over 25 years?
I'm still probably the least expensive candy store around. There's a lot of candy stores that are more than twice as much of what my prices are for my bulk candy and my fine chocolates. We have to obviously make a profit, but I don't want to price gouge. I get what I need to get. My rent is not that crazy because I'm in a small village. I have a very small store, but it works great for me.
Best and worst selling items?
We do sell a lot of chocolate. I sell a lot of jelly beans. We have low-cal candy that sells really well. It's really hard to say what doesn't sell well, because if it doesn't sell well, I won't get it again. Nothing sits around for a long time.
Someone comes to you, young person, wants to get into business. You're 25 years in. What would be your best piece of advice for them?
I say there's rules, but there's no rules. I say go by the skin of your teeth, go by instinct. I feel that I have really good instinct. When I go to the gift show and I order, I don't go with a business plan. Not to say that sometimes might not have been helpful, but you have to have good instinct. And for me, that's worked really well. So I say go for it, definitely.
How did the idea for Indulge happen?
We were away in Florida and we saw this candy store that we thought was adorable. And we came back and said, wouldn't that be great? I was working in the jewelry business nearby, and it came about a year later, this space came available, and we said, let's do it. Let's bite the bullet. It absolutely is nothing like the original candy store that I saw. And like I said, it's evolved over the years. Our store is very different than it was in the beginning. But like I said, it's always changing and always being current.
Any regrets after 25 years?
Definitely not. Having my own business and also in the neighborhood that I grew up with, and I live here and I work here. I love seeing all the people that come in. I see everybody and their mother. And it also allowed me the flexibility of picking my kids up from school every day and being close by and working.
Linda, thank you.
Thank you.
Linda Goldman, the owner of Indulge Candies here in Newton Highlands, Massachusetts.
Thanks for watching The Language of Business with Greg Stoller, a weekly look at ways to encourage and inspire entrepreneurs. To see more anytime or to join the discussion, go to languageofbusiness.biz.